The character Wonder Woman is one of the most iconic superheroes in modern pop culture. She symbolizes the marriage of warrior and feminine characteristics that were severely lacking in comic book characters at the time of her creation. For decades, women all over the world have admired and obsessed over the story of Diana Prince and her adventures being a Wonder Woman in a male-dominated superworld.
The year 1941 was a landmark year for comics. When their sales were at an all-time high, pretty much everyone had their favorite superheroes they liked to read about. Similar to your favorite TV shows nowadays, comics were extremely popular. William Moulton Marston was a psychologist who noticed something. Every independent superhero was a male. Though female superheroes existed, such as the Woman in Red, Lady Luck, and the Red Tornado, the first cross-dressing superhero who fought crime with a pot on her head, none of these inspired the public. Marston sought to change all that. He had a vision of a feminist movement and hoped that a new character would spark a revolution. At the very least, he wanted to open up the minds of future generations and hope of a strong future for women as a whole. But Marston wasn't just an early feminist with a dream of an equal future. He was known to have the ultimate goal of women being the dominant gender, not simply equal, and he wanted this to be achieved by the sexual enslavement of men. His home life was also controversial. He lived with his wife and 2 kids, along with his mistress and the 2 kids he had with her, who continued to live together years after Marston had died. The controversy continued into Wonder Woman herself. Marston was criticized for Wonder Woman's skimpy costume, over-sexualization, and bondage, which appeared in every single issue of Wonder Woman. One of Marston's female colleagues even resigned in protest. Despite controversy and Marston's taboo theories based on crackpot science, Wonder Woman was a fan favorite and arguably the most impactful superhero of all time. Marston had achieved his goal and inspired women all around the world and created a character loved for over 60 years.
Wonder Woman was originally created as a representation of women taking on typical male roles. This was at the time of Rosie the Riveter, when women were feeling more empowered than ever. Wonder Woman was unique because she was the only icon specifically labeled as a feminist. In 1968, Wonder Woman oddly lost all her powers and became a martial artist. During this time, she was the ordinary Diana Prince, and it's argued that she lost most of her feminist influence. This was a strange transition for her, and many fans wanted the traditional Wonder Woman back. In 1973, her powers and original costume were reinstated on the cover of Ms. Magazine. 2 years later, the television show Wonder Woman was introduced, featuring Linda Carter as the title role. The show firmly established that the traditional Wonder Woman was back and here to stay. Since the 1975 series, Wonder Woman was given a backstory with Greek gods, labeled as queer, given pants and a jacket, and designated an honorary member of the UN, until she became the star of the first female-led superhero film in modern society. Similarly to Wonder Woman, Beowulf underwent changes since the first telling of his story. In the beginning, it was strictly pagan, but as times changed and religion developed, the story started to include Christian elements. Until modern times, Beowulf was the epitome of Anglo-Saxon beliefs and standards. However, in the 2007 film adaptation, Beowulf is motivated by lust, which is definitely not seen in the book.
There is a bond between Hippolyta and the Amazonian warriors, much like the bond between the soldiers and kings in Beowulf. The concept of comitatus and fraternity are present in both the comics and the movie, just with a more feminine flavor since the island is composed entirely of women. In addition, there are a lot of archetypal patterns in Wonder Woman that are also seen in Beowulf. For example, in the movie, the god Ares can be seen as a devil figure like Grendel, because in the movie, he essentially causes World War II for sport. In the comic books, Steve Trevor, Wonder Woman's paramour, can be seen as a gender reversal of the damsel in distress archetype, because he constantly needs saving from dire situations. The archetype of hunting group of companions is here too. Throughout the movie, Wonder Woman travels with a band of misfits to help her in her endeavors. They each would sacrifice their lives for each other and for the cause, much like Beowulf's men would theoretically do.
The minor differences between books and movies can change how the viewer or reader sees the plot, characters, and their actions drastically. In Beowulf, the book, Beowulf enters the dragon's tower and gets poisoned and defeated. A young warrior, Wiglaf, comes to stand by Beowulf's side and help him defeat the dragon. In the film, Beowulf knows a spot in the dragon's throat he needs to cut to defeat the dragon. He kills the dragon on his own but dies in the process. I think this is an extremely different ending from the book. In the book, Commutatus is present when Wiglaf is by Beowulf's side, risking his life for his king. In the movie, Beowulf continues to be the epic hero where he can do everything on his own. In the Wonder Woman comics, Diana is rewarded for winning Hippolyta's competition with weapons and powers such as speed, strength, the boomerang tiara, and the lasso of truth. In the movie, she disobeys Hippolyta, breaks into a highly guarded armory, and steals a sword. This act is defiant but bold, and I think it portrays Wonder Woman as a more powerful and defiant heroine. Women across the globe can be thankful towards William Moulton Marston for creating Wonder Woman. Children and women are inspired by Wonder Woman to be powerful and strong. Wonder Woman is a positive role model who we can look to and find ourselves. She shows us we can do what may seem impossible for a woman, as she's been doing it for years.